Ever watch your mom smile while arranging your marriage to a man who'd already buried two wives before they turned 20? Yeah, that was my Tuesday. In my family, girls were married off the moment they got their first period. Didn't matter if you were 12, 13, or 14. The blood meant you were ready for a husband, at least 3 times your age. I grew up with this idea, so in my head, it didn't seem that bad. Until I turned 11, because that's when I watched my cousin Miriam get promised to a 43-year-old man, just 3 days after her first period. His previous 2 wives had died before turning 20. That was the first night I decided to stop eating enough food. Not because I was trying to lose weight, not because I hated food, but because I noticed the skinnier girls in my family would be the last ones to get their period. And I knew it was my only option. I later learned that your body actually needs to have enough fat before starting puberty. The other girls called me skeleton, but I didn't care. Other girls my age were already promised to men who had children older than them. That didn't mean they stopped prepping me to be a wife, though. Every Friday from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m., I was made to serve meals to male family members for hours, without speaking. And of course, if I made eye contact or noise while serving, I'd receive 10 lashes of the belt. I was forced to hold burning pots without oven mitts, to toughen up soft hands for kitchen work. And every night, my mom put skin whitening cream all over my face so I could be beautiful. Other than the secret starvation, I was the perfect daughter. I played the part with zero complaints, always talked about how excited I was to have kids. But when I was 14 and still periodless, I found something that changed everything. For context, we were in the USA the whole time. My mom had just convinced us that all of this was normal, that any girl who didn't do this was bound to die alone, ugly and useless. Until one teacher forced me to have a meeting with her. I'd accidentally worn a t-shirt to school, and she saw how skinny I was. When she walked out to use the bathroom, she'd forgotten to lock her drawer. Inside were books about marriage laws, pamphlets with titles like Your Rights as a Young Teenager and When Culture Becomes a Crime. As I read, my jaw dropped. It was the first time I'd been introduced to the idea that marriage under 18 was wrong. No cultural exceptions, no parental consent loopholes. I stole the thinnest pamphlet, hiding it in my waistband. Over the next few weeks, when my parents thought I was asleep, I memorized every page. Phone numbers for CPS, shelter addresses, the exact words that would trigger a mandatory report. I learned that teachers, counselors, and doctors had to report suspected abuse by law. So I started a wife skills group in my uncle's tool shed. 6 younger cousins who hadn't bled yet, all desperate to avoid their fate. There, I taught them what I'd learned, which teachers were mandated reporters, how to say the words that would trigger an investigation. We practiced in whispers. They're forcing me to marry. Please help. And at 15, my body betrayed me. My mother's scream of joy brought every woman in the house running. They were practically beaming, kissed my cheeks, told me I was lucky. By nightfall, my father had already chosen my husband, Hamoud Habibi, a construction mogul who'd buried 2 of his wives once they turned 23. Kidney failure, the death certificate said. The women whispered it was from too many pregnancies, too young. 2 days later, my cousin Anya, a girl from the shed, got her period too. Within hours, she was promised to a 51-year-old who collected wives like trophies, who had 8 children older than her.
I watched the light drain from her eyes as they discussed her bride price like she was livestock. That night, I slipped her my notebook. Every shelter number, every legal fact, every escape route I'd memorized. "Tomorrow," I whispered, "tell the science teacher. Use the exact words I taught you." Her hands shook as she took it. "What about you?" "My wedding's not for 2 weeks. I'll figure something out." But I was wrong. Because that night, there was a knock at the door. It was CPS. My father's face went from confusion to fury as they asked about Anya, about underage brides, about forced marriages.
They needed to speak to all the girls in the family under 18. The moment they left, the family circled like wolves. Someone had been teaching the girls lies. Someone had poisoned their innocent minds with Western propaganda. They turned the house upside down looking for the culprit. My journal was found hidden in the tool shed within an hour, filled with phone numbers and legal statutes. My father burned it in front of everyone, calling me diseased, contaminated, a cancer that needed to be cut out. "The wedding is tomorrow," he announced, "before she destroys anyone else." Dawn came too fast. In an hour, they would come to dress me in red and gold, to deliver me to a man who'd buried 2 girls already. My stomach churned as footsteps approached my door. I grabbed the plastic bag I'd hidden days ago, stuffed with only the essentials. A change of clothes, the shelter addresses I'd memorized and rewritten, and $20 I'd stolen from my mother's purse over months, $1 at a time. The door handle turned. I clutched my stomach and doubled over, letting out a groan that wasn't entirely fake. My mother entered, already dressed in her finest clothes for my wedding day. "Get up," she commanded. "The beautician arrives in 30 minutes." I groaned louder, pressing my hands against my abdomen. "Mama, something's wrong. My stomach." She frowned, approaching cautiously. In our culture, a sick bride was a bad omen. "What did you eat?" "Nothing," I gasped, stumbling toward the door. "I need the bathroom now." She grabbed my arm. "You went 20 minutes ago." "Please," I begged, letting tears stream down my face. The fear made it easy. "It hurts so bad." She released me with disgust. "5 minutes. The aunties are waiting." I stumbled down the hall, clutching the hidden bag under my loose nightgown. Once inside the bathroom, I locked the door and immediately stood on the toilet seat. The ceiling tile I'd loosened weeks ago shifted easily. I shoved the bag inside, then actually used the toilet to make the sounds convincing. 3 minutes passed. I flushed, ran water, then groaned loudly again. "Mama, I can't stop." Her fist pounded the door. "Open this door." "I can't," I cried, standing on the toilet again. The small window above it had been painted shut years ago, but I'd been working at it with the butter knife stolen from the kitchen. "Please, just another minute." More pounding, multiple voices now. My aunties had joined her. I pushed the window frame with all my strength. The paint cracked, then gave way. Cool morning air rushed in. The opening was tiny, meant for ventilation, not escape. But months of starvation had made me small enough. "She's taking too long," my father's voice boomed. "Break it down." I grabbed my bag from the ceiling and shoved it through the window first. Then I pulled myself up, shoulders scraping against the frame. The door shook as body slammed against it. My hips stuck. I bit my tongue to keep from crying out, twisting sideways. The lock splintered just as my legs cleared the window. I dropped 6 feet onto wet grass, ankle twisting but not breaking. Behind me, shouts erupted from the bathroom. I ran barefoot, nightgown flapping. I sprinted across our backyard and into the neighbors. Dogs barked, motion lights flickered on. I kept running. Our neighborhood was a maze of identical houses,
filled with families from our community. Any of them would return me without question. I cut through yards, past pools, around garden sheds. A car engine roared to life behind me, then another. They'd mobilized fast. I ducked behind garbage bins as headlights swept past. My cousin Umar's voice carried through the morning air. Check every street. She couldn't have gone far. The main road was 3 blocks away. The bus stop was 4. I'd mapped this route 100 times in my head, but never barefoot. Never with my heart hammering so hard I thought it might explode. I darted between houses, using parked cars as cover. My feet left bloody prints on the concrete. A piece of glass embedded itself in my heel, but I couldn't stop to remove it. There! My cousin Kareem's shout came from the left. A car screeched around the corner. I dove through rose bushes, thorns tearing at my nightgown and skin. The bus stop came into view just as the morning bus pulled up. I burst from between buildings, waving frantically. The driver, an older black woman, took one look at my bloody feet and torn nightgown and held the door. I climbed the steps and froze. No money. In my panic, I'd left the $20 in the bag. Please, I whispered. I just need to get downtown. I'll pay you back. I promise. An elderly woman in the front seat stood up, pressing exact change into the machine. Sit down, child, she said softly. She didn't ask questions, just guided me to the seat beside her and handed me tissues from her purse. The bus pulled away just as Umar's car skidded into the parking lot. I ducked below the window, but not before seeing his face twisted with rage. The woman beside me shifted slightly, blocking me from view. We rode in silence until downtown, where she pressed a $10 bill into my hand before getting off. Whatever you're wanting from, don't go back. The courthouse was a massive building I'd only seen from car windows. I limped through the metal detectors, leaving bloody footprints on the marble floor. Security guards exchanged glances, but didn't stop me. The family court clerk, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, took one look at me and came around the counter. Honey, do you need medical attention? Emergency protective order. I gasped out the words I'd memorized. I'm 15. They're forcing me to marry today. Please. She guided me to a chair and brought forms. Where are you staying? We need an address for the order. I recited the shelter address from memory, praying they'd have space when I got there. My phone, forgotten in my bag, began ringing. Mom, then Dad, then Umar. The numbers I didn't recognize. The voicemails piled up without me listening. I knew what they'd say. Dishonor, shame, curse, cancer. The clerk helped me fill out the paperwork, her face growing grimmer with each detail. Previous wives dead at 23. Kidney failure from too many pregnancies. Forced marriage ceremony scheduled for today. She read my petition right there in the lobby. Granted. Emergency order effective immediately, full hearing in 2 weeks. I clutched the paper like a lifeline, but when I called the shelter, my hope crashed. We're completely full. We can put you on a wait list for Thursday. Thursday. 3 days away. I had nowhere to go for 3 days. That's when I remembered Miss Rodriguez, my teacher who'd shown me those pamphlets, who'd forgotten to lock her drawer that day. Maybe she hadn't at all.
3 buses and 2 hours later, I stood outside Jefferson High School. Saturday meant it should be empty, but her car was in the parking lot. I found her in her classroom, red pen in hand, stack of essays beside her. She looked up and dropped the pen. "Oh my God." She was around the desk in seconds, taking in my bloody feet, torn nightgown, the protective order clutched in my fist. "Sit, don't move." She returned with the school nurse's first aid kit and began cleaning my feet. Only then did I start crying. Real tears this time. Not the fake ones from the bathroom. "They were going to make me marry him today," I sobbed. "He killed 2 wives already. I got the order, but the shelter's full and I have nowhere to go and they're looking for me." She pulled out her phone. What happened next changed everything. Miss Rodriguez connected me with a retired nurse named Theodora, who specialized in emergency placements. For weeks, I lived in hiding while my family launched a campaign to get me back. They posted on Facebook calling me mentally ill, showed up at Theodora's house, hired lawyers claiming parental rights. But I had something they didn't expect: evidence, documentation, and other girls who were ready to speak. Because Anya's escape had triggered something. My notebook, the one they'd burned, had already been copied by other girls. The information was spreading. Within a month, 3 more girls filed protective orders. Within 2 months, we had 10. My family fought back hard. They hacked my social media, posted videos of cousins claiming I'd corrupted them. They even hired men to break into Theodora's house to drag me back. But each time they tried, we documented it, reported it, and used it against them. The court hearing was brutal. My entire extended family filled one side of the courtroom. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all staring at me with mixtures of pity and disgust. My father's lawyer painted me as a troubled teen destroying families with Western propaganda. But then our secret weapon walked in. A woman in her 20s, wearing a hijab, walking with a slight limp. "I'm Fatima Habibi," she said quietly. "I was Hamoud Habibi's first wife." The courtroom erupted. She continued, "I didn't die. I was 15 when I married him. By 20, I'd had 4 children and my kidneys were failing. My family told everyone I died, but a nurse helped me escape. I've been in hiding for 5 years." She looked directly at me. "When I saw the Facebook posts about you, I knew I had to come forward. I couldn't let him do to another girl what he did to me." Her testimony was devastating. The judge granted my protective order, permanently. My parents would have no contact. Any violation would result in criminal charges. As we prepared to leave, my father stood. "You are no daughter of mine," he said in Arabic. "You are dead to us." My mother removed her hijab, a gesture of ultimate rejection. "We have no daughter. She died today." The walk out of that courtroom felt like walking through fire. But I wasn't alone. Fatima caught my arm gently. "You're not alone," she whispered. "There are more of us than they want to admit." What my family didn't know was that their rejection had freed me completely.
With Miss Rodriguez's help, we turned my scattered notebooks into a real network. We called it the Freedom Network. Hidden information packets disguised as school supplies, phone numbers written as math problems, legal rights information hidden in history homework. We distributed them through school nurses, counselors, teachers who understood. Within 6 months, we'd helped 23 girls escape forced marriages. Within a year, 56. My family tried everything to stop us. They filed lawsuits, made threats, even burned a car outside my safe house with wedding dress dolls in the trunk. But every girl who escaped made us stronger. Every notebook copied and shared was a victory they couldn't undo. 2 years later, a journalist wrote about our network. The article went viral. Organizations reached out wanting to help expand the network nationally. Women who escaped similar situations offered support and resources. My family responded with a formal announcement. I'd been officially disowned, not just by my parents, but by the entire extended family. My name was erased from family trees, my photos removed from homes. In their world, it was worse than death. Complete erasure. But as I read that announcement, I felt something unexpected. Relief. They played their final card, and I was still standing. That same week, I got a package from Fatima. Inside were photos of her in nursing scrubs, smiling at a graduation ceremony. The letter said, "I wanted you to see what's possible." 5 years of hiding, but I built a life, became a nurse, found love with someone who sees my worth beyond being someone's property. Stay strong. I cried holding those photos, seeing proof that survival could lead to more than just survival. Now, 3 years later, the Freedom Network operates in 12 states. We have a legal team, safe houses, emergency response protocols. Last month, we helped our 200th girl escape. My phone still rings with unknown numbers, girls whispering desperately, "I found your notebook. Can you help me?" And every single time, I grab my pen and say, "Yes, tell me everything." My family erased me from their story, but I became something they couldn't erase. Proof that their daughters could choose differently. That knowledge spreads through whispered conversations and hidden notebooks, through brave girls who risk everything for freedom. The war isn't over. It might never be truly over. But every girl who learns her rights is a victory. Every escape is proof that it's possible. And that's something no disownment, no threat, no erasure to ever take away. They wanted me silent, hidden, erased. Instead, I became a voice for every girl who thought she had no choice. And that voice keeps getting louder. Drop a like and subscribe for more stories that prove sometimes the universe knows exactly what it's doing. See you in the next one.